Welcome back to Car Mechanic Simulator 2021. We're going to get straight into it today. We're working on the 1990 FMW Panther Mark 1. And we're going to go straight into the speeded up, or sped up I should say, examination part. And we're going to speed through all the testing, just because it will slow things down. This video took quite a while to record for this one car fix. It also involves, as the title suggests, taking the engine out and completely rebuilding it. It is a lot of work and a lot of unscrewing, which there are going to be speeded up parts because of that. I keep saying speed instead of sped, but there we go. If you're enjoying these videos, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to not miss an episode. So as you can see, lots of things to do, lots of things to replace. Ignoring the brake issues at this point. So we're going to lift the car up, and we're going to disconnect a few things underneath to be able to take the engine out. And we haven't really done this before, so there's a lot of learning, a lot of mistakes. Hopefully we'll get quicker for next time. First of all, drain the oil. We don't want to make a mess anywhere. We don't want to get fined for not changing the oil. Let's put it that way. So that can go back. There we go. And we will now have a look at what we need to take off. So, trying to get the right angle to figure out what we need to do. So the drive shaft needs to come off before we can take the engine out. There's a few little things you need to do. This was a bit of a learning curve. It did take us a little while to figure out. I lifted the car up and down several times before we got to this point. But we managed to get there in the end. So the gearbox needs to come out, but there's an issue. There's something stopping it. We need to get a closer look, and it's the starter motor. Starter motor is one of these things that I will forget a lot, because it's one of those small things that stops you taking the gearbox off, but when you put it back on, you just forget it's there. And I'm sure you'll see in many episodes where I forget it's there. I have to go back and put it in place, but there we go. We're going to take the clutch pressure plate off, and the bearing and all that little bits down there, the clutch plate. Now, it's only recently I realised you can leave these on and actually do it on the engine stand. I didn't know this at the time. So we have learned from our mistakes, let's put it that way. And there's many more, many of the videos to be seen yet. I make many mistakes. There is suspension issues as well, so while the car's up in the air, kind of thought, right, let's deal with those as well. At least get the parts off, so at least then that bit's kind of started to be looked at. So brake caliper comes off. You can see the brake disc also needs dealing with. That was another issue. The majority of the car is the engine, but there are brake issues, suspension issues, little bits we need to look at as well. You can see all the engine stuff there. That's one bit of the engine stuff. Inner tie rod has gone as well, so that needs replacing. You can see actually on the exhaust manifold for the engine, you can see one of them's gone just from here. We're going to check the bushes, because suspension issues that aren't found yet could be a bush, and since they're our nemesis, I can't ever see that changing the way it's going. It's worth checking them while the car is in the air. You have two of them in the lower suspension arm, so it's worth taking off the lower suspension arm just to check if one of those is gone. Again, at this stage we can't test for the bushes. I think you need the testing facility at the garage, and then it will test them. And then once we've got that, we're laughing. We won't have to keep manually checking. As long as cars are actually run, you can take it there and it will test for you. But we're nowhere near that stage, so we have to manually check ourselves at this point. And you can see straight through the wheel here as well, there's a brake disc that's probably going to need looking at. No, it doesn't. I thought from an angle it looked like it did. It's got a little bit of wear. I don't think it's excessive. Can see the inner tie rod and the outer tie rod both need to come off. The outer there. Oh, sorry, the inner, yeah, outer and inner. I was right. Start doubting what I'm saying now. But again, we'll take the lower suspension arm off just to check the bushes. Whenever there's unfound suspension issues, I generally check bushes because, well, I've been known to miss them. So it's always worth checking. There we go. That's all good. There's two more bushes to check on this suspension cross member. One here, which is actually okay. I like to put them back straight away as well, just so we don't forget where they're from. There's one far end of the cost member. We need to go back to taking parts off to activate it. Just make it out in the distance there. There we go. Oh, it's a rusted bolt. Does that mean it's no good? No. Actually, that's okay. So I can go back on. So at least we've checked the front cross members, rubber bushings. I think we've got most things out now. Need to come off the front of the car. Did we do the front one over there? I'm not sure if we did. Let's double check. Rusty bolt. No, that's okay as well. So we'll put it back on. Now I think that's all of them. I can't remember if I've done that one or not. That is all of them done. So we can lower the car down and we can look to take the engine out. I've done the oil, I've disconnected, put bits and pieces. I'm pretty sure that's everything. The exhaust is connected. So we're going to take off the exhaust manifolds. I don't know if we have to take them off or we can take a bit of the exhaust off and that would do the same issue. Or saying that would solve the issue, but you can't obviously have the exhaust connected to the engine and take the engine out. That would cause a few hiccups, I'm sure. But the big thing we've done is drain the oil, and that's an important one. Well, we've also drained the coolant. I know I didn't show it, but we did. So you can see it's empty there. Just because I wasn't sure if we're going to have to take the engine apart, we'd have to take off the water pump. That would be a fine and a spillage. And here I pressed the wrong button. This is the learning curve. We pressed to install the engine when it's still in the engine bay. Did set me back a little bit while I was trying to figure out what I'd done wrong, but then we managed to take it out. So if we head to our workshop, I should call it a workshop, we can actually put this engine on the engine stand. Now, when we're taking apart an engine or putting it back together, there is a lot of bits and pieces to unscrew. It will take time. So we're going to speed through this. Only because I didn't think you guys would want to see lots and lots of unscrewing and parts coming off. It's not the most fun thing to see. It's not the most fun thing to do, to be honest. Especially when you're still learning where everything is, what connects what, and how you get certain parts off. So we've had to take the timing chain off to get the cam shafts out. It's just remembering where things are. The nice thing about this game is it's very user friendly. I've found that even if you don't know a lot about engines like myself, it does highlight things for you. When you highlight something and it's yellow, it means there's something else stopping it, which is then red. I like that user friendliness, and I am learning. The more I do, the more I realise what is needed to do these things. But it does take a lot of time and practice and getting used to it. Once you're used to it, it can become second nature. But I didn't think you guys would want to see lots and lots of bolts being unscrewed. And there is a lot of them. Okay, so now we're at the point where we can take the pistons out, and we did see from the testing the pistons were no good, or a couple of them weren't. So we need to replace a few of these. Piston rings are gone on that one. That one's not too bad. And the piston rings have gone again on that one. So that's the thing to pay attention to, is all these little bits and pieces that we're not massively used to at the minute. But there we go. Right, brakes, we haven't got any. The brake disc we took off we can't fix. So we'll go to the workshop bench and see if we can repair any of these engine parts. Now, the ones in yellow I don't think we need to do anything with. It's the orange ones that we do. So this exhaust manifold was the one on the left, I want to say. And we got it straight away up above the minimum. And the one on the left we could see was needed replacing, fixing. We've done that. The other stuff, I don't think anything needed doing anyway, but we're not a high enough level. So we're kind of lucky, I think, in the fact that we don't need to do it. Generally, most parts that need replacing are red or orange. Red obviously can't be fixed. And as well, certain things cannot be done anyway. So piston rings cannot be fixed, even if they're orange. Pistons with con rods also can't be. Learned that lesson, as it didn't come up in our list just now. What else do we need? I think all the yellow stuff is good. Again, it's sometimes worth checking back with the car. The annoyance with this is doing an engine in your workshop, which is the only place you can work on it unless you're in the engine bay, is you have to physically walk back to the car to get the list of parts that need replacing back up if you've found them. And once you've taken it off, they then become listed. It's a bit of an annoyance to keep going back and forth just to say, do I need to do that? Do I not? Generally, if money's not an issue, every red and orange, as long as the car needs a yellow percentage minimum, you're generally on for a safe bet, I would have said. So, is that everything on our shopping list? Trying to do it in a kind of an order, so I kind of don't miss anything. There are things I want to add twice because I'm not realised, but I think we'll be okay. So we've added the relay. Have we dealt with the relay yet? I don't think we have. I'm trying to remember. That relay is not for this car. That relay is on the previous car. I can't remember now. That's why I'm getting confused. And it's so easily done. If you leave something in your inventory that isn't for the car you're working on, it's so easy to get confused with parts. Yeah, I don't know if that's part of what we're doing now. That's the problem. We go to our shopping list. Relay type A. I don't think it is. We haven't opened the fuse box. So I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I don't think it is. Anyway, we're going to look in the warehouse. Is there anything in here we can use rather than buy? Hopefully it lets us take items. We had the issue last episode where we couldn't actually take an item out to come out and back in again to do so. I think it's just a little bit of a glitch. It's not a massive issue. I have found you can solve it just by going in and out of the warehouse. So what have we got here? Is there anything can we use? Timing cover, engine head cover, no. Spider rollers. Don't think they need replacing. No. I don't think there is anything we can use. So we're going to have to buy everything brand new. This will cost a little bit of money. Hopefully not too much. So piston rings we need 3. They're not expensive, 19 credits each with our discount. Fuel filters generally not that expensive either. Intake manifold. $251. That's not too bad, I suppose. Timing chain, you can't fix those. There's nothing we can do with it. Yeah, most of it isn't that expensive. Spark plugs aren't going to be that expensive, I wouldn't have thought. And these are things we're going to have to replace quite a bit. Spark plugs won't be in this side. Ignition cores aren't in this side. They're going to be electronics. Timing chain shoe. That's definitely a first for us. Water pump. Again, not that expensive. And we do need to level up so we can fix these things massively, but they also need to only be orange, not red. Water pump pulley. Oil filter. As I say, this video was about an hour's worth of my time trying to figure out different things, doing things for the first time and learning from my mistakes. We've managed to condense it down quite a bit. But it's all a learning curve, but it's a fun learning curve. I'm learning so much about cars that I never even knew. All these little issues that I didn't even think existed, they do. So clutch release bearings are the last thing we need in the general shop. And that is that. And then we can go to electronics, which will be the spark plugs and the ignition coils. The ignition coils are fairly expensive when you start getting more than one. But there we go. So everything is now bought. So we should be able to start putting things back on this engine. We've got it right down to bare bones. The engine block's left. I think we left the camshaft in. And that's it. I think it was a camshaft. I could be wrong on what that is. It's still in there. But we'll put the pistons in. Once more, we're going to speed up replacing these parts. Mainly because, again, there's a lot of bolts to be done up. And it does take a bit of time. But we'll speed through. And hopefully by the end we'll have a complete engine. All being well. That's the aim. There we go. Again, there's just so many bolts to keep screwing. I'm looking forward to being able to increase our screw speed. We just had to double check what we needed to do there. But yeah, once we can increase our screw speed, it will help. But all these little caps that go over the camshafts, they just add up to time. So it will be interesting to see the difference when we can start using our skill points to do that. But at the minute, our focus is on the renovator skills, as we need to get them up as soon as possible so we can fix more parts to save us money in every job we do. And that's kind of the focus at the minute. But everything going back on, the shoe's now on, timing cover's back on, the engine cover, the ignition core's back in, the exhaust manifolds can go back on as well. We have a cover, fuel rail, throttle, and we're back. So most of that is done. We've just got the pulleys on the front now to do. So the water pump can go back in. The water pump pulley as well on top. We've got our alternator, which we didn't need to replace. That's all good. We've got idle roller A. And then we've got our crankshaft pulley. It was the crankshaft we left in the engine still. That was something we didn't need to deal with. The only reason we took the engine out, or the big reason, was the pistons, to be able to get the space to get to the bottom. And there's no other way of doing it. You have to take everything off the top, all the inner workings, and then take the fuel pan off the bottom. Now at this point I got a bit confused. I was trying to work out why I couldn't put the belt on, and then I realised I haven't finished the bottom. It must be something we haven't done here. And that's why it's stopping us. We've missed the cap. And now it allows us to put the oil pan back on. That will allow us to put the belt on the front. And again, it's one of those things, unless you've done it, you won't have known. But we couldn't put the power steering pump on either. Something else we didn't realise we'd missed. And then, now you can see the belts there. The serpentine belt can now go on. But until you've done these a few times, you don't learn these things. You've just got to go and learn as you go. Fan's back on. There is an idle roller, I think, just behind the fan we haven't done. Why? Let's turn it round. Just need to try and get a viewpoint on it to see if we can put it on. I think... Did I miss one or did I not? I don't know. There was a bit of a shadow. Right, we're going to try and put the engine back in, and this is when we realise we're doing it wrong. I don't want to move equipment. We actually have, and like I say, first time for us, so we learn from our mistakes. We actually have to take the engine off the stand. There we go, and it will go in our back pocket. As you know, these games have these massively large back pockets that can hold anything and any weight, and we can install the engine. I don't know if I've missed that idle roll or not. It did look greyed out, but I'm not 100% sure. So I don't know. We might find we come a little bit unstuck in a bit because of that. I'm not 100% sure if I've done it. But we can put the engine crane back. We have done with that now for today. And we can start looking at the ABS module. That needs replacing as well. There's a few other little things we still need to do with the car we haven't done yet. Focused primarily on the engine, as that was the big fix. The pump doesn't need doing. That's a bonus. Obviously, these are big parts that cost a lot of money. Most of the engine parts don't cost much. It's definitely helpful for us. We haven't got a limited budget, although it's looking better than it has done previously. But yeah, the ABS module and ABS pump are quite expensive parts. And luckily, we don't have the car batteries from last week to play with again, as they are stupidly expensive. But ABS module back in now. What else do we need to connect? I think there was an air filter we need to change. I think that was on the list. Clips. And do you know what? One of the biggest bugbears I think I want to have throughout this game is going to be these little tiny clips that you can't make out half the time. Only just managed to see it. But the air filter was yellow, so we knew we couldn't take it out. That's a destroyed air filter. That's what we need to replace. I think the base is fine. Can we fix an air filter? I don't know. And a lot of this we won't know unless we try, so we're going to have a quick look. No, we can fix the cover and we can fix the clips, but we can't fix the air filter itself. So good to know. We won't try that again. But yeah, until we've had a look and tried these things, we don't know. So it is learning from your mistakes, learning as you go. Try and figure things out. Oh, it was the first one top left. Okay. We didn't know that either. It was worth just checking. Well, I try and use a shopping list just to make sure we do get the right part. There's nothing worse than buying the wrong part and you're out of money. I think you get half the money back when you buy the wrong part if you sell it immediately. Which, okay, with a filter isn't probably too bad financially. But in the long run it could be devastating. So, I always like to use a shopping list just to be sure of what we're buying. Okay, the clips go back on, these tiny little clips that are really annoying. They are back on. What else? Ah, there we. So it wasn't. I did miss one. Luckily, we can do it from above. I did miss one. I thought I had. I wasn't 100% sure. But we did miss one. There we go. So I think that's everything done. Timing chain, all that's done. That's a completed page. Fuel filter. Now, I will openly admit, this took me a good few minutes of searching and searching for this. And then I had a brainwave. Instead of searching, taking parts off, let's put parts back on and it will show up. And there we go. Straight away, you see the greyed out fuel filter, sorry. Yeah. Again, another mistake we're learning from. If you're looking to put a part back on, it's worth changing to putting parts back on. It will show up better. We've still got things we need to sort out in terms of brakes. We need to put the gearbox and everything back together, and we need to do the drive shaft. I think we're good brakes side from this end. So we can do the gearbox first and all the other stuff. So the flywheel, that didn't need replacing. The clutch plate can go back on now. Let's try and get a closer look. The pressure plate, and it was the bearing. I'm pretty sure that needed fixing. I think we added to the shopping list. Did we? Yes, we did. Perfect. Brand new one there, and then gearbox. Gearboxes I've found are one of the more expensive sides of fixing cars, which I'm not surprised. They are integral to the workings, and you can't get inside them, so I'm not surprised they're expensive. But let's put the drive shaft back on. There we go. Otherwise, the car isn't going to go anywhere. But yeah, once we can fix gearboxes, hopefully find some in barns and stuff like that. If we can fix them, then we should have a steady supply that will save us a lot of money when it comes to fixing cars. The one thing I think, I'm not 100% sure on this, but one thing I think, you're going to still gain the same amount of money every time. Whether you buy the parts or you use parts in your warehouse. So that is a big money saver if you've got parts in your warehouse that you can use on any fixes. And especially the more expensive parts like the gearboxes. Right, inner tie rod, we haven't bought a new one, we do need to. So we need to do that first. And again, I want to use the shopping list because I prefer using that method to be able to make sure we don't mess up and don't buy something wrong. So inner tie rod, that can go on, that's done. I like to clear the shopping list as I go as well, just to be sure we're not messing up on anything. Full shopping list is never a good thing. We did buy an outer tie rod, we just missed the inner, that's good. Now I believe the wheel can go back on. We have still got brake calipers to replace, but I'm pretty sure they're not on the front. I'm just trying to get an angle just to see. Anything here? No. I just wanted to get a look on the bearing to see if that needed doing, but I don't think it does. And that is the wheel back on. Now, we still need to do the other side wheel. I think that's everything else done though, this side. Let's have a look. Everything done? Yeah, bearing's okay. I think we're looking for one, and I think that's why I need to keep checking. I'm trying to remember what's on the list. The lists, when they're quite long, are quite difficult to remember everything. You will see me revert back to the list quite a bit in a lot of cars, just because I just can't physically remember everything that's needed to be replaced. It makes sense to keep checking. Okay, that is that. So the front is done. We still need to find his brake calipers and I think a bearing as well. I think that caliper's gone. Looking through the tyre. Sometimes the shadow gives you the indication and it has that. That has what a brake caliper that is no good. I think that's red. I don't even think we can fix that, to be fair. I think that's a full replacement. Brake pads look okay. They do look okay. Nothing else this way. Take them off. I just want to check. The brake disc. No, that's okay. We need to take off the rear drive axle to check the bearing inside. I can get a line on it. I need to try and get into the right position to see it. We're going to check the rubber bushes as well. As I said before, we can't currently test for them. I'm looking forward to the day we can. It'll save me a lot of time. Anything else here that I can look at? Can we fix anything? That's the other question. I'm still curious to whether we should be fixing every brake disc we come across, because the discs are free to fix. They go on the lathe, doesn't cost us any money. Should it be an annual thing we do anyway? It's like the car wash. I want to, once we get one, wash every car. Even if it's not, I don't think it's going to be required, but I think it's a nice thing to do. You know, valet the car. It's all free, I believe. If it's free, it's only going to take time, but I don't mind doing it. I won't always show it in the videos if there's no need to, but I think washing cars is a nice little service. I am considering the brake disc art. Yes, it's time, but it's free. If it's saying it's free to fix, should we be doing it more? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. If you think we should be fixing every brake disc we come across, if it's free, then we'll do it. As I say, it's a time issue more than anything else. Only if we have to take the wheels off. If we don't have to take the wheels off, I'm not taking them off just to do that. But we're going to take the rubber bush, and I'm pretty sure we're still missing a suspension issue. So far, every rubber bush has said it's okay. I'm adamant it's going to be a rubber bush. It's got to be, surely. This one's lost its bolt. Is that the issue? No. Once the bed in for the first time, my nemesis isn't the issue. But yeah, I'm going to spend all my time trying to search for it. We're going to take that suspension arm off, I think, to look at the bushings we do. And again, they're all good. We've got a nasty suspicion the thing I think it is isn't the thing it is. I think anywhere else. There's a small rubber bushing down there, but to do that we've got to take everything off. We've got to take that whole suspension off, the shock absorber, and everything off to get to that small rubber bush. Let's have a look. Sway bar rear end link. We need to do that. Okay. Oh, it's a wheel hub bearing. Oh, okay. So maybe I'm wrong. I'm checking these, and I still have a brake caliper as well. So these other things I'm looking for, the rubber bushings, we actually don't need to look for. We actually know what everything is. So we can put the tyre back on. And I think by process of elimination, the last things we need to do are on the left rear tyre. It shouldn't be anywhere else. If we get an angle on it, we can take it off. Hopefully I've got this correct. Otherwise it's going to be a bit more time consuming. I think we may have got it right. There's the caliper, we know that's the issue, that's one of them. So this should have the wheel bearing as well. Not too sure how we get to it. We'll take the brake pad disc. Do we need to take disc off? Probably not. Which means we didn't need to take the pads off. Do we? I don't know. I don't know if we can take it out of out. Still learning at this point. Wheel hub bearing, there we go. That's the bearing we've been looking for. Oh, and there is a sway bar rear end link. That is the other thing we need to fix. So, luckily, I don't think there's any bushes to play with. Which surprises me. Just checking everything else. There's a few things obviously you can't see the state of. But, we've got the sway bar, and we've got the wheel hub bearing, and the caliper. Now the caliper we can fix, I'm pretty sure. And there we go, yep. Yes, spot on. We don't have to fix it all the way, as long as it's above the minimum percentage. Saves a little bit of money on our side. So we just need, I've just realised as I've done it, I've forgot we'd already added them. We only need one of each. Just because I went to do something else in the meantime. But yeah, we'll have bearing paid for, rear link paid for. We can now put them back on. Rear link is tiny, but luckily we found it. So I was definitely wrong. It wasn't the bushes. I apologise for the bushes. They weren't the thing we needed to sort out. But it's always, if I don't check them, it'll be the one thing we miss, and then we've got to go back and recheck everything. I'd rather check and be sure. So brake disc can now go back on. And then we've got the pads and then the brand new caliper. Well, I wouldn't say brand new, the fixed caliper. That can be sorted as well now. There we go. And the wheel. And is that it? I know we've got to put liquids back in. The oil needs to go back in. The coolant needs to go back in. That might be it. I don't know. I think it is. Let's lower the car down and let's have a look. We might actually be done. Right, we need, yeah, coolant back in first. I'm kind of thinking we're done. I'm waiting for something to come out and bite me that I've forgotten. There's bound to say our first proper engine rebuild. There's going to be something I've not done. Bound to be. We're just trying to find the oil cap to refill the oil. Can't quite see it. Where is it? Why can't I see the oil refill cap? That's weird. Surely it's on there. Oh, yeah. There we go. It kind of blends in, the colour of it blends into the top of the engine. I just couldn't quite see it. So engine oil back in. Perfect. And let's just check everything. What have we got? It's all ticked. Bonus. We are done then. We're going to make a little bit of money from this. Obviously time, you don't get paid for your labour, unfortunately. It'd be nice if you got paid for the labour it takes to do these things. But we don't get one. We just get the parts and the bonus. But we're done. So before we finish, we're going to sell all the stuff that is in our inventory that's no good. So we're going to click it all through. There we go. And I've spotted an issue. We've missed something. So the last thing sitting in our inventory, I know I sped through it, may have been a bit too quick. We didn't put the starter motor back on. And we did say at the start of the video when we actually took the starter motor off, this will be the one thing we'll always forget about. It's a tiny little piece you need to put back on. It stops you taking off the gearbox, but it doesn't remind you to put it back on because of the angle you're at when you do the gearbox. You can't quite see the outline of it for when you're done and put the gearbox back on. So it's so easy to miss because the angle is so off. But we found it, luckily, before I sold it, otherwise we'd be buying a brand new one. But that is the starter, going back on now. And that is it. So while we're lowering the car, we'll talk the finances. So we spent £1,681 on parts to fix the car. And when we come to send it back to the owner, we will make £3,036 profit. Now that's not bad. We've made more before, we've made less. I think for the time spent, that's not a bad profit. It all adds up. There was so much to do. Engine out. Lots of stuff to take off. I don't think that's a bad profit, to be honest. But that is it for this episode. Next time, we'll work on the car to our right. It's the 2018 Atom 330, another electric car, for another customer. So we'll look at that in the next episode. And if you're enjoying this series, don't forget to like the videos, that massively helps. But subscribe, ring the bell to not miss any episodes or any other content on the channel. And we'll see you next time for the Atom 330.